It's now 6:30. I'd like to call this City of Monessen Council Work Session to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Cosner,
Here.
Councilman Nestor,
Present.
Councilman Orchakowski,
Here.
Mayor Mosher.
Present.
Mayor, we note 4 members present and a quorum.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Pastor John Brewster to the podium to lead us in a prayer.
Thank you very much for praying with me here. Let's pray together. Lord, tonight we're doing what you told us to do, that is to pray for those in authority, that we might have a peaceable, dignified existence. And so I pray for our country, all the people up the line above us in authority. I pray for wisdom as they deal with other nations. And tonight, I pray right here for the outpouring of wisdom right for these local matters that will be worked on tonight. Thank you for these council members that have agreed to take on the responsibility to lead our city. I do pray for a blessing for them, and I ask tonight especially for the people that keep us safe, police, fire, medical people. Reward them. We're thankful for them, Lord, and let them be blessed in the ministry they do. All of these things we ask because of your amazing love for this city. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to invite public comment directed to myself on agenda items only.
I'm honored today that we have some distinguished guests. And I hope when they present their presentations tonight, that they have to take into account these parameters. Monessen is an aging, dying town. We're not getting no influx of young people with PhD degrees or entrepreneurship. Number 2, the roads are terrible. Our school system is towards the bottom to graduate 38, 40 people, and they take 4 times more the budget than the city council does for the city. So,
Keep it to the agenda.
okay, I just want them to put this in the parameters when they make
They
presentations.
have their own.
I know,
agenda.
but they have to address
You know,
the environment that we're in. Well, okay, so we're gonna talk about what, being on Mars?
wait till they do it, wait till they get there.
Wait, I won't be able to talk later.
You're right.
Okay, so that's why I'm talking now. But anyway, I just hope they put it in the context of where Monessen is at this time, and not in the future without addressing how they're gonna get to the future when we got all this
Okay.
problem
I don't see that on the
settled.
agenda here.
Thank you, Ernie.
Is there, anybody else has anything they'd like to say? At this time, does anybody have any old business that they need to bring forth?
No, Honorable Mayor.
Any, correspondence?
No, Mayor.
This has been a very interesting week this week, and I'm going to basically turn this over to some very qualified people that have provided an environment that we were able to experience. With that, see who's going to bring this. Michael, would you like to come forward and tell us a little bit about what all you accomplished?
Sure. And thanks, Ernie, for that introduction. I appreciate that. Because of course we care about the context of Monessen. November 3rd, 1948, Chicago Tribune, front page headline. Anybody know? Dewey defeats Truman. They couldn't even predict an election the very next day that the results were going to be announced. So turns out the future is difficult to predict accurately. But when Mayor Mosier approached us about coming and talking about the future of Monessen, I was a little skeptical. And I got together with some of my close friends. There's Ms. Catherine Larson in the corner, Ms. Lynn Mosier, Dr. Joel Mosier, and Dr. David Hardy with me tonight. So we started looking into the background of Monessen, learning a little bit about its history. We looked at the lay of the land, and we were pretty impressed with the potential that you have here. And we spent the day with some members of your city council, some other interested citizens, and we found nothing but a positive attitude, which is a great place to start. And as I said, I was a little skeptical at first because somehow Mayor Mosier managed to get us here at no cost to the city somehow, because he's so charming, and he clearly has a passion for the well-being of Monessen, which was the primary mover for us to come and want to think about your future with you. So we didn't come in with an attitude of being able to solve any of your problems, because you've been living with your situation for a long time, not us. But what we are an expert in is thinking about the future in a different sort of way. And I mentioned Dr. Mosier, and I know that Mayor Mosier has given him a proper description. He brought to the U.S. Space Force a sort of planning approach that's a little different than the typical. And the typical thing is take a look at how life has been, and let's assume that we're going to be left with living on this trajectory going into the future. But I assure you it doesn't have to be that way. But the first thing you want to do is avoid trying to planning on any particular future, how we think things should be, and then we'll kick ourselves when it doesn't turn out that way. Because no matter what you think the future might be, the only guarantee I can give you is you're going to be wrong about it. So how do you plan in that kind of environment? What you want to do is think about all of the possible and plausible ways that the future might shape up for you, and try to be ready for any eventuality. Because if you think about what's a reasonable outcome ahead of you, if you're ready for all of those various things, then you're going to be in good shape no matter what happens. So it's a case of don't put all your eggs in one basket and try to force your way in one direction. And I would say that we are living in a fantastic time right now. I mean, certainly inflation isn't good for anyone. Not everyone is living as well as we like, but it certainly doesn't lack for excitement. And we are seeing greater change happen right now than people have ever seen in recorded history. And it's a well-known fact that disruptions and waves of innovation that you can track over history have always changed the way people live their lives. But those waves are coming more frequently now, and they're compressed. They upend our lives at a faster rate than ever before. So it used to be someone could live their whole life and not really see things change very much. But then think Little House on the Prairie, and then suddenly, the steam engine comes through, changes the way everything happens. That might happen once in life. These days, our young children can expect to see 3 or maybe 4 of those kinds of major waves of change just looking at the frequency that they're coming. So we need to be attuned to those changes, and because those changes happen so rapidly and so completely, no one is really at a disadvantage, because however things are done today won't be the way they're done tomorrow. The question is, can you position yourself to be ready for how they will be tomorrow? So it's with that spirit that we started, and the first day, we of course wanted to hear from those in attendance about the issues that are currently confronting Monessen. Because Ernie, you're right, you can't ignore the problems you have today. But at the same time, we spent a little bit of effort thinking about busting the assumptions that we carry, often implicitly, about things not being able to change. when in fact change is already right in front of us and is coming, can we recognize it and prepare for it? So we use some tools that Dr. Mosier has used for the US Space Force. So he used to be the chief scientist of the US Space Force, and his primary responsibility was to advise the Pentagon about how to make investments of money today for those systems that won't come into fruition for another 20 or 30 years. You know, if you think Monessen moves slowly to get the infrastructure in, just think of our federal government, and it's a whole different time scale. So it's a challenging job to think, how do we make smart investments, because today's money is all we have to work with, but we're preparing for a future that can't be predicted. And it turns out those techniques can be applied very well to any sort of situation, like planning for a city moving forward. So a day and a half isn't really long enough to cover all the bases, but it certainly was long enough to, I think, equip your city officials to be thinking in the right sort of way. And that is thinking about what are our built-in implicit assumptions that don't have to limit us as we think of moving forward. And in addition to our team here, we also brought in remotely some experts, including property developers, who were very impressed with the infrastructure that you have here that is ready to transform your downtown if you're willing to take that risky step. And we brought in a fellow who is an internationally recognized expert in this futures kind of thinking, just to help orient us on this. And then we spent a lot of time today thinking about some of those potential future scenarios. What's going to happen to the job market in the face of advancing artificial intelligence? What does the future of work look like? What do social services look like? Even what's going to become of your library 20 years from now? And what might that space be housing? And what might it be used for? Something different than today. The question is, are we going to be ready for it? So with all of that and with this framework, we wrapped up our day thinking about discussing issues of what are the things Monessen is currently doing that maybe it needs to stop doing, and what are the things it should be attending to that it doesn't have on its radar currently. And the process is just beginning to think about putting some flesh on the bones of this strategic futures planning process, but I think we made some good progress. So with that, I don't know if you have any questions about particulars, but we're going to continue to work with the City Council, and you may have noticed a similarity in last names between Dr. Joel Mosier and Mayor Ron Mosier that may have contributed to our interest, but I can tell you that dealing with your elected officials, we're bought into seeing Monessen succeed.
I'd like to also personally thank Dr. Hardy. Would you please stand up for just a second? Dr. Hardy is, well, give us just a couple words about your background.
Lead space technologist for the Air Force and Space Force for many years. I retired as the Associate Secretary of the Air Force for Space, working directly with the Secretary in terms of determining our future space position and strategy. Technologists, I worked with my good friend here, Joel, for many years trying to figure out what's the best space future we can devise for the nation.
Thank you. And my brother, Dr. Joe Moser, would you stand up and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm the brother of the mayor of Monessen.
Yeah, wow.
Spent my career working for the Air Force, retired as the chief scientist for the United States Space Force, the most advanced technological military service in the history of mankind.
Thank you. Well, it's going to be a busy time, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we've got 3 people who have applied for the position of city council to replace a retired city council person, Lois Thomas. I'm going to use a random generator. That's fine. Well, let's just go with this. The first person that was chosen was Ernie Telegraphis. Ernie, you've got 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. You can take as much time as you want, up to 10 minutes, but no more. The purpose of this was identified to you in a letter that we sent to you. You have a copy of that letter?
Yeah, I never got one. I just came in here and I applied.
I got the email too, as you were on the email.
What time?
Yes.
You got 10 minutes. Tell us why you're here, how you would like to work with the city of Monessen, and why do you think you're the proper person?
Okay, first of all, I've been coming to the city council meetings for the past 18 years. And I've learned a lot interacting with 5 different mayors and different council members. And the big thing that I want to contribute to is I have my own perspective, I do my own research, and I'm able to dig under the rocks and get material that we need to know in order to go forward. And I'm not gonna come here as an antagonist. I just wanna add the perspective that most of the people here on council are not incorporated. You don't run with a generalization or some other city did this and that, and no one is applying it to the specifics of Monessen. No one's doing anything about the aging population. Nobody's doing much about the dilapidation of buildings and roads. And no one's doing nothing about our school district that lags behind the state. As far as 529 school districts, we're towards the bottom. So how people that you're looking for to bring into Monessen, how are we gonna get them here, especially if they're family members, to move here? We don't have a prime resort area, okay? These hills and the dirty Monongahela River ain't really appealing to bring people from out of town and say, this is where I'm gonna spread my wings at. So we have to have something more conducive. And the conducive is we have to produce Monessen to be something that will aid public opinion on why they should settle here. And we're not doing it. Why are we gonna settle here in Monessen? You don't build some housing units. You're gonna have something here that people are gonna say, yes, I could see my whole family living here and me experiencing as a Monessenite where to live forever. So, basically, I will do my best to bring industry. I will interact. I want nothing to do with government grants because they got strings attached. I like to bring people in that will do what? Start up companies, or they're looking for an auxiliary position, place for their company, from where they're located at. Now, the other thing that I want to correct is by all these groups that we have, the police, school teachers, people working here in this building, why most of them are not Monessen people, they're not residents. So when we pay them our hard-earned money, we don't get their taxes. It goes to the area where they come from. And I know I hear this all the time. Well, nobody else applied. This is all we got. Well, I don't know. I don't see anybody turning over rocks to find more people here. As far as I know, I have 5 neighbors up at Rex Boulevard, and they all work out of town. And nobody ever approached them. 2 of them could be really helpful for Monessen, but nobody's knocking on any doors locally to get local talent or skilled people who want to work here near their homes. So we're all trying to create situations here by just creating one bureaucracy on top of another bureaucracy, and there's no substance as far as community involvement is. That's all I can tell you. I could be more precise if I get on council and I get to see what is really going on and what information is being passed and is not being distributed to the public. If I know that, I'll be even much more, let's say, conducive to working with everybody. I thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Ernie?
I have a question.
Okay.
Now, you told us what we're all not doing. I would like to know exactly how you're gonna get businesses to come here. What is your plan? What have you researched and what companies that you
Well,
know?
okay, I'm gonna give you
Exactly.
something past tense. Amazon was looking for another auxiliary location. They went to Wilkins Township near Monroeville, but the people there said, no, we don't want all that traffic. And nobody reached out to them to see if we could do something here in Monessen. We got these, what do you call it, these tin mills and these other people occupying the bench. And nobody went to grab that. I saw that and I said, how come nobody ain't knocking on their door and see if we could get somebody here? That's just one thing. I don't want to go too far because I'm not on the payroll. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
one of the things that I've noticed is, you look all along the Mon River, and I've told this story many times, from Fredericktown to Rincon. And all along the way, you have all these cities that are along the river, and they're all dying. You got Brownsville, you got Spears, you got Charleroi, Denora, Monessen, Glassport, the list just goes on and on and on. Except for possibly 2. One would be California. They have a university, but I discount them because they don't have a place you can get up early in the morning and go eat. The other is Monongahela. Monongahela, you ask them why they don't have the same problems that everybody else does, because they don't. They don't have a lot of life, they've got lots of business, things are very active. What did they do to cause that to happen? And it's rather interesting, because the first thing they say, well, we didn't lose a lot because we weren't invested in the steel industry. But they did. They had all the supporting industries, the chemicals and the inspectors and all that went along with that. So that doesn't hold water. And they hummed and hawed. And what they finally said, we don't know, but somebody charted a course. And we all just kind of followed it. And I said, bingo. You don't have the fighting that's going on in all the other communities along the way. So what would you do to prevent the fighting from going along in here in this city so that we can promote and go in the same direction?
Well, I would like everybody on city council to act as a member of council where we're all feeding information and insights to each other.
But don't we do that?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it seems like everybody's on board because when you pass ordinances, I never see anybody say nay. It's all I.
That's called working together for a common goal.
Yeah, but when you're working too much together like that, that's collusion. And in a collusive group, you don't get generating.
If you go in the same
crimes.
direction, you're gonna get someplace.
Oh, I know that you guys need
Okay.
some new blood to
Okay, so
stimulate
you're not
new
willing to
blood.
work with this, is what you're saying.
No, I didn't say that. I
Yes.
said you need some new blood in.
Yeah?
And I'll be glad to be part of your group with a new approach to things.
Okay. Anybody else have a question for us?
Do Do you think your cantankerous attitude would be helpful for council?
I think now you're throwing a curveball, I can't tell you. Yeah,
I'm speaking to Mr.
Well, first of all, I won't be down at the Raven Club getting drunk, that's one thing.
Well,
Now,
well, may I
yeah.
address this? I think
Would
if we're
you
gonna have
call
someone
me
here,
to dinner?
hey, listen, if we're gonna have someone here that's trying to apply for council and not be fit.
We
to
cannot
the
have any
attack,
other comments.
I just think attacking her right there just
Well,
very
you
personal.
attack me, just like contact.
Well,
You painted me like I'm
Okay.
ready to fight.
I
Now,
think
with this
you're fighting
question,
right now.
that was your
aren't you?
response. Do anybody else have any questions for him?
Yes, I do.
Okay?
So Ernie, my question is, rolls a little bit off of what Karen said. And that is, you do understand that the position that we're looking to fill on council, Lois's old position, was streets,
I know.
okay? It's not to play the CFO, it's not to play mayor, it's not to play parks or anything else. It's to work hard and move and work in conjunction with our street crew, okay? What do you see, or how do you see you fitting into that role? Because that's the role that this job is pigeoned in. It's nothing else. I want you to really give me an answer that you think of, because it doesn't mean, wait, let me finish, please. It does not mean that, why aren't we go out there getting Amazon? Why aren't we going out there and doing this? Why aren't we just bringing people into more money into the city? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? That's not going to be your sole responsibility.
I agree.
That will be part of your responsibility. But I need to make sure, in my mind, that you're not going off on tangents and aren't looking at the tasks, that we need somebody that handled the streets the way Lois handled the streets. And it's very important.
Okay. First of all, I put on probably 120 miles a day. I cover Monessen as well as out of town. And you could ask the mayor, when there was a big pothole on Rex Boulevard, when you make the turn, I told him about it. So I'm aware of what locations, because residents that know me would tell me, hey, can you do anything about it? I said, I'm not on council. So I have a very hands-on approach, knowing where the problems are, which residents, taxpayers are concerned about. I think more in contact than Lois was, because she wasn't moving around like I do, especially when I have a paper route too. So I cover a lot of locations. And with that knowledge, I'll be able to feed into you people which areas need to get addressed. So we can make taxpayers more happy.
So what do you foresee as your availability?
Almost every day. In fact, I pop in to see the mayor or Mike all the time. So I'm really concerned Monessen now. Hey, if I wasn't, I wouldn't be coming. How many meetings did I miss at the meetings? I think one.
I have a question. Ernie, do you think that your paper would affect you from what you post on your
No,
paper?
because it
Would
comes
affect you
out,
from being on council?
it comes out once a month.
I get that.
It's not
but-
a daily paper.
I get that, but the writings in your paper, do you think that would affect you for being on council? Because some of the things you post on there are very xenophobic.
Well, we should be, because we got a foreign occupied, nation that dictates to our policies.
Okay, and then do you think if your back past history of like running a travel agency would affect you from being on council?
What is it? I went to Europe 18 times. Did you go to Europe?
I'm just asking.
I've been around, and I've been to 14 states. So I wasn't born here and just looked at the Mon Valley.
I'm just asking a question. Thank you, Ernie.
Anybody else?
How you feel you could better, how do you think you better can deal with, and I'll say this in a polite way, a lack of reserve? Because sitting up here is totally different than sitting out there.
I know, you got responsibility up there.
Well, no, that's not where I'm getting to. I'm getting to the point where you may find yourself being fully attacked, and you can't be flagrant and waving your arms and doing it and getting louder. You have a realm of professionalism that you must deal with up here, whether you're ready to go across the table and choke somebody.
No, I never, applied physical punishment.
I meant that as just as a comment,
okay.
but what I'm making my comment is, how do you find yourself being able to tone yourself
Well,
down?
when I'm on this side of the divide, I'm not gonna act the same way I'm over here. Out here, I'm an outsider. In there, I know I have to work with you guys.
Actually, when you're over there, you have more authority and power than you have than what we are up here. We are supposed
I
to be
don't know
doing
about
that.
that. You're giving me too much.
No, we're supposed to be working for what the citizens want, not what my personal intention is over there. That's how we function as a council. That's how we function as a unit. You need to be able to assure us, if you're considered, that you're capable of doing that. No, it's very, very important.
Okay, I'm gonna answer that. When I was going to college, the first 2 summers, me and my brother, we worked in the mill. The first summer we were there was this real tough union guy. He knew how to put down all the, red hats, the, foremen. The second summer we went there, he was wearing a blue helmet. He switched sides, and he was different. He was working as a company man. He wasn't attacking nobody, and that's what's gonna happen here, if you give me the opportunity.
I'm just concerned of any individual that feels they can just, with a light switch, flip it off and flip it on. Because I can promise you, in this position, it will be on more than it will be off.
What am I gonna shut off? I don't,
Your charming personality.
Oh, come on, I told you, things change when you're on different sides of the aisle. They don't stay the
I don't think
same.
they should. I don't personally think they do.
Oh, no, you mean, if you're out here where I'm sitting and I'll be in your seat, what are you gonna be doing?
Making decisions that make your life better, hopefully in some part of the
Okay,
city.
well, how? You're getting paid, I'm not, so how would you make decisions?
Oh, trust me, Ernie, it's not what you think, trust me.
Do you know how much it pays to be a city council person?
Do you really know? $92 every 2 weeks.
Well, at least I buy, food
And we don't do
during
the job,
week.
we don't do the job for them.
I don't have to ask
It is not a job you're gonna get rich
Uh,
at. This is not a job you're gonna get rich at.
I just knew that, because you said that. But anyway, listen, my purpose is, I was born and raised in Monessen. I've been all over the place.
Well, as
All right.
this is in their questions.
Anybody else?
I'm done, Mayor.
I'm done. Thank you. Thank you, Ernie. See, number 2, John McGee, would you like to come up here? Ten minutes or less.
Mr. Mayor, Council, audience, my name is John McGee, lifelong resident of Monessen. I'm running because I want to see Monessen thrive, not just survive. When it comes to the end of the year, financially solvent, that we're paying bills and not sweating out. In Act 47, the chattering linger of it dissipates. How do we expand and grow Monessen with geographical confinement? There's not just empty acres that we can just develop. How do we have to continue to fight the blight, use eminent domain, and then follow up on properties with those tax forgiveness, that they live in up to the end of their deal, and they get a year to rehab the properties. I think there's some that are getting the properties and sitting on them, not doing anything. At least where the area I live, I see some. We need people with an entrepreneurial spirit to find in this town. Because recently I contacted Chaser Capital, who acquired the Rite Aid building a couple months ago, and I've been in correspondence with them. I gave them some ideas, they're shooting me back with ideas. I don't know how serious they are, or if they just want portfolio diversification, because they've acquired a lot of the big boxes that are empty throughout the nation, CVS's, Rite Aid's. They had asked me if we needed a groceries store, and obviously they don't know what's already in this town that we have. And I gave them some alternatives. I just don't know how serious, but we have to put pressure on them, because we don't want that sitting empty like the health center sitting empty. And years ago, a search could have brought up red flags to the guy who acquired that. Been real simple. and then it wouldn't questionable if we sold it to him. That sits empty. Development that could bring in tax dollars if under the right management and hands. I know that if I take the position, it'll be for the parks. I would confer and defer with those on the street departments. They are the experts. There have been those working there for many years. And whatever the right solution is that we can come up with, and I would fight for whatever they need in their departments. Hopefully, if we have it in the budget. We shouldn't be waiting around, because not just them, but first responders in this town too. Those are two primary needs, I think, for this town to survive as well. Some things I'd like to see maybe brought back, a cultural heritage. Make Monessen a destination. Why not us? Why not Monessen? We may not be able to what Willing Pit Steel did, and they've been gone for 40 years. And for 40 years, we've been trying to find an answer, and we haven't found one. And the infighting for the decades that were going on, because still, I read the paper. I may not attend meetings for 18 years, because sometimes I got things to do. But I believe in this town. I wouldn't have stayed here if I didn't, and for family reasons as well. I have a lot of nervous energy, sorry. As far as like the music in the park, I'd like to see that if we have a full schedule. If you remember the old band directors we had, there was with the daughter, they have jazz bands. We could do perhaps a jazz fest. That's just an idea. At amphitheater, we could use a lot more. We could attract. That's the thing. Monessen is in a good prime location. We're not far off 70, we're not far off 51. There's resources that should have been promoted in this town. I never knew why the fighting ever happened. Was there hidden treasure in this town that people hid away a long time ago to try to find? Why there was this divide. Politics and people, we don't need to be divisive. We're never going to get 22,000 people back in this town. But if we get a couple over a period of time, I think that's a good start. I think we have to bring attraction to the town. How? We just have to figure it out. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to work with council and mayor. I don't hate anybody. I don't dislike anybody. I would never run because of that. I know this town votes people out instead of voting people in. I'm just here as someone to plead my case, and I thank you for your time. I yield.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
I've known you since you were a kid, and I've watched you grow up, and we always think, what we need in this town are young people. How do we get more young people to stay here, John, and bring their families to Monessen?
That's a great question. To retain people.
Yeah.
I think it's twofold. I don't think it's people my age use the school district as an excuse when their kids become school age and they move out and they try to find better opportunity. I think that's a cop-out to blame the school district. But the school district could do better as well. I know people would like to maybe come back and retire one day and live back in Monessen. Look forward to, if that ever happens. That's a big question. How do we retain people? How do we retain youth? I don't know if we do a PR blitz. I know the negative connotations that come with this town. When I was in college, professor, when he found out I was from Monessen, he goes, really? As if people from Monessen couldn't go to college. That's not going to change overnight. And the news only gives like 30 seconds to positive stories anyway. They rather cover shootings and whatnot. But we can be the positive light in the valley. We can be. We don't have to have people going anywhere else and using whatever excuse they use. Affordability. Right now, gas is $4.19. We're fortunate to have a grocery store, Family Dollar, Dollar General, no matter if the memes and the online jokes about these stores that pop up in rural places. But we're fortunate we're not in a food desert. Where would you go then? I have friends that live near rural areas, and they have to, go a half hour to hit the stores up. We're very fortunate to have those stores here. During the pandemic, I didn't spend $1 out of town. I spent all my money in town. We have wonderful eateries in town. Award-winning. The Still Plate just won the Wing of Being Braggett Pittsburgh Talk Live by George, recognized globally, nationally, whatever. There are great, wonderful opportunities here. It's an all-in situation. It's not a desperate situation, but I think that, I don't know if you're just tired. I don't take the apathetic approach. I know a lot of people do. They just say, well, I just live here. But what are you doing that you just live here? Are you cleaning your neighborhood? Are you helping out? What are you doing to attribute and to contribute, to the betterment of the city? Now, it's not 100% participation, we know that. There's people who just do whatever they want, and that's fine. But they shouldn't be the ones complaining when things start to move ahead and move forward. So, hope that answers.
You have any questions?
All right, Mr. McGee, just a quick question. Do you think you would have the skin to be able to sit up here and take some of the heat that you get, just even when you're doing good or sometimes doing bad?
Well, you're really open to criticism no matter what, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have to have thick skin, thick fiber,
Get some callous.
tolerance. You know, one ear out the other.
Yep.
Especially somebody just ran some raves, tune them out. That's what you gotta do.
Yep.
Now, I'm not an ageist. Yeah, we need young people. But we need people all ages. You got an idea? Come on. So, anybody else? I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Tony, you have anything you'd like to say?
Sure, you had a question, I'll ask you the same thing I asked Mr. Telegraphis, and that is, this job is to oversee streets, not parks, streets. Okay. What do you see as some of the challenges, and what do you see as some of the possible solutions?
We have to budget for streets. Order salt early when the winter comes. Make sure we're prepared for a bad winter.
That's already done.
Okay, well, I'm not appointed yet, so I don't know what to say. But, you know, some things, like I said, with the park, I'm sorry, with the streets, I'd work with them. I got to know a few of the members on streets. I'd be available. That's all I can say. I'd work with them. To say I got these ideas, we would have to try to obviously get great. Some streets need fixed, right? How we get the money to do that. Work on that. Not overwork the street department, within reason. They can get everything done in a timely manner. Address the importance of what needs done first. I'd have open communication. I'd be available. I would do my best. You know, I think I'm a good communicator. I like to think that I don't have all the answers. Who does? You're a fool if you do, if you say you do. So I'd be partially maybe learning as well. And I would not try to make any fatal mistakes.
How would you see yourself as far as availability? Because the reason, and let me give you the context of why I'm saying that.
Yes.
The streets have a very unique situation in the city, meaning that it's not just summer, spring, and fall. They're also winter pummeled, depending what Mother Nature gives them. So that position, probably more so than almost all of them, sometimes demands almost a 24/7 response on a lot of things. Is that something you're up for and availability for?
I'm available. Yes, I am. I set up office hours as well. I had my phone on. I don't do much. I was taking care of my mom and to avoid any hip she's in a school facility, and I go see her a couple times a week for a couple hours. But hopefully she's gonna come home. Anyway, but I'm available. Other than that, I'm available. You do need some personal time, but I'm available. I have no other type of engagements. I'm single. You know, I'd be married to the city, I guess.
That's a difficult one right there.
Yeah. Well, all marriages 50% break end in a divorce, right?
We call that 4-year election.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys. Yeah. I'll be there for 2 if.
Well, let's see, I've got just a couple. And this is very difficult because first off, you've not been on council to understand a lot of the things that we've got going on. But when you talk about bringing businesses into town, there's the good old buddy way that, hey, I know so-and-so and maybe I can talk him into coming into town. But that's very rarely ever successful. There's very few tools that we have available. One tool that we've identified that may provide some help is what we call a LERTA project, whereby we will defer taxes on improvements made to the city for the first 5 years and then increase the taxes 20% each year beyond that. these are the kinds of programs that we're trying to pull, that have a future for encouraging people to come to the area. How do you feel about those things?
That's wonderful. If they stay beyond the 5 years. And that's I think that's where you're gonna run into an issue, maybe. Because once they see the tax raise, but look, like I said, I don't have like those big connections. You know, like you said, it's very rare as far as bringing in, business and whatnot. That's the path I'm gonna go. I'd be there, that's fine.
I guess I really don't have any other questions. You've really demonstrated a love for the city in the way that you serve on the Refuge Authority as an example. And I do appreciate that.
Trying to find another person to fill up even the North Bell Vernon, I'm reaching out so we get that full form, but.
And I appreciate that. Other than that, I really don't have anything else.
Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to ask Bishop Bass to come up and give us his 10 minutes or less introduction to who it is, why he wants to be here, and so forth.
To the mayor, city council, and city officials, and all the citizens of Monessen, appreciate the opportunity to stand here. And I want to say that my vision for the city of Monessen, and I recognize that you all are dealing with complex issues, and sometimes I heard the gentleman say today that when you come up with simple solutions to complex issues, then usually it's wrong. But my vision for the city is this: I want to be somebody that makes a difference, not just always identify what's wrong, but come up with some workable solutions to try and help solve the problems. So I think, having said that, I think the mayor and city council have been elected by the people, and that they should be allowed to govern with respect and honor, and that we should help them while they're governing. I think that all the boards in the city, somehow, we gotta figure that out, and I think meetings would help, should work in harmony with the city. If you don't agree with something, how you handle it makes all the difference, whether things can be solved. And I think to the city as well, that you should keep on with your blight removal. I know there's been a lot of homes torn down. That seems to be an issue with everybody, and I certainly would like to see that continue. Also, that the city remain safe and secure, and that all citizens of Monessen are valued. I also want to say to you that we should deal with the street issues. There are some street issues, and I think that if I was chosen for this street, I would, what I would do, position, is I would meet with Rodney, and I would try to meet with all of the workers and get their input and let them know that one of my roles would be to help them, communicate with them, and talk with council and the mayor if there are issues. And in my experience, there's always issues. I think that you also said that we should talk a little bit about key initiatives that we should follow. I think the third project that the mayor just referred to, I think we ought to continue doing that, because that's hopefully one way to bring people and business to town, and also to get homes revitalized, is by the tax assistance program. So I really think you ought to keep that going. I further think too, in the city, that you should keep writing grants. A lot of people don't realize how powerful that is, but we can get a lot of money to help finance some of these programs. And money is a problem. It's a problem for everybody, and I commend you on that. My vision too, again, is the senior gated community. And only if we follow the guidance that the mayor and the city solicitor has given us, then that hopefully will become a reality. And hopefully by doing the gated city, we can increase the tax base, and we can help people that would move from, seniors that would move from their house to the gated community. They could sell their homes and sell them where they can sell them at a normal price, and not somebody wait until they pass away and then just take from the rental, the real estate agencies, just take some amount just to get rid of the house. I think it would benefit the people that's moving out of their homes into the gated community. So I think we can profit from that if somehow we can work out all the things that the mayor and the city solicitor has outlined to us. I think that I understand the role that I'm applying for. I'm sure when I get in it, there'll be other things that will come up. But the job, as I see it, requires close coordination with the street department. It also requires coordination with council. And that for that to work right, there has to be a physical presence. That was pointed out to me by someone I was talking to, that I need to be involved at the street level or hands-on level and make sure that I'm actually working with them and not just showing up for your council meetings. I think that's really important. And I made an agreement with my church superiors that they're willing to work with me and help me so that we can, when the council is doing things, then they'll schedule around that. So my church will not stop me from being on council. Okay, why I think I should be selected is because I was raised in this town and I know the problems in this town. I've toured the city. I did a 4-hour tour, all the cities. I tried the streets, rather. I tried to go through all the alleys. Some of the alleys weren't in good shape at all, just to try to identify the problem. Now, I did this like 6 or 7 months ago. I didn't wait till this position opened. I didn't know that it was gonna open. But the reason I think I'm a good candidate, because I have the ability to communicate with people. I have the ability to listen and to hear what people say and respond to it. And this allowed me, that ability allowed me to conduct meetings and teach classes in the White House and in the US Capitol, as well as across the country. I think my education is important. I have an undergraduate degree and from the University of Pittsburgh, and I have a master's from the Washington Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C. So I bring education to this as well. I have 41 years of managerial experience. And so I've been in charge a long time. And when I gave you my resume, you could see all the groups that I worked with and was in charge of. I didn't just work with them, I headed those groups. Okay, and other things too, my past experience as chairman of the planning commission, my past experience, well, not past experience, I'm now the chair of the Monessen Redevelopment Authority. I've made many contacts in the county, and by going there, the way that works is when someone want to buy some property off of the Redevelopment Authority, I will take a quick deed to Greensburg, and we'll get all the transfers made, and as a result, that helped me meet a lot of people. I want to say to you that the Redevelopment Authority over the past year we've sold 5 lots, which brought those properties back into the tax rolls.
I'm gonna ask you to try to wind this up. We're gonna reach the 10-minute limit here.
Okay, that's, I'm supposed to be watching my time. All right, just let me conclude with this. I'm available. When you call me, I can answer. In my church, I don't take a salary, and I'm on a 24-hour call, so the members of my church and the national church can call me anytime, day or night, and I will respond. My cooperation with the mayor and council has proved that how I work and my positions in my national church as well as my local church has shown that I have the ability to manage, solve complex problems, and I just want to thank you so much for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, the only question I had, and you answered that question,
Keep the mic.
is you're involved with so much. I mean, I look at this, it makes me tired even trying to read it. But we always hope that somebody, when they're on council, will be willing to be an involved member, other than, you know, just
Yes.
yes or no on things. And I know you've said that you can, time management skills are key.
Wow.
So that was my concern, is just you're so busy.
Right. Well, my time management skills are wonderful. Let's clear that up. But I want to say that I have a lot of people helping me too. So a lot of that you see is not me doing it, but it's me supervising other people. But I have my own company. But I used to teach and run things, but now I have people working for me that teaches and does all those types of things. So I am busy, but I know I can work it out. And if any time I thought I couldn't, then I wouldn't be sitting on council. I'd be honest about it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for him?
Bishop Bass, do you think if you were selected on council, would there be any, I guess, anything that would damper your personal life coming here and being able to do this job? Do you think you'd be able to separate the church and actually do city work at the same time? Because I can see it could be kind of difficult a little bit.
Well, no, well, absolutely. I would be able to, I know when I'm doing city work, when I'm doing church work, and already I've done a lot of that just with the redevelopment authority, the planning commission. And, so that wouldn't be a problem for me.
Anybody else?
There is a separation of church and state, so I can understand that. Comment there. Okay. You answered what I was gonna ask you, a couple questions. My main one, though, was what Karen spoke about, and that would be is juggling everything. This position, can be overwhelming at times. And it's not something that slows down in the fall. If anything, it gets worse because the guys need what they need to do to be able to make the streets clear. When it snows and you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you can't get out of your driveway. On the other hand too, there's a lot of things that we know we'd like to do, we can't do because we don't financially have the money to do it. And that can become very frustrating in this position, the position you're applying for. I don't have much else. He answered most of my
Yeah,
questions.
he did an excellent job of addressing things when he gave his introduction.
You
and I
would
really
also,
appreciate that.
you would also be in a interesting group that, you know yourself that, was appointed to the redevelopment authority. And then was chair, then, don't know why I wanted to run for office, but it happened. Ron was on the redevelopment authority also, when I was chair, but the biggest thing that I would just say is the time and commitment to get in, because it can become very, very, very frustrating.
Right, well, you know what, I appreciate you bringing that up, and let me say to you, I can understand when you look at my resume, why you would even consider that or think that way, but I'm a very good organizer, and I will be available. I will be available when emergencies arise. I will be available. I'm energetic, so if you call me 4 o'clock in the morning and I need to get up and be somewhere, I won't have a problem getting up and doing that and dealing with the issues to the best of my ability. I just want to be the type of council member that will help solve the problem and not just point it out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming and applying for this. Well, just for everybody's information, council will consider the interviews that we've had, and we will be voting on the position of the next meeting of the 26th, I believe it is. 23rd. Okay, with that, we also have a person here from the Mon Valley Transit Authority that can explain a little bit why we've seen such a great increase in the rates. I'd like to ask her to maybe give us some information.
Good evening, my name is Nancy Basil, I'm with the Mon Valley Transit Authority, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'll try to keep it short, and I'll welcome any questions you may have. Forgive me, I'm gonna read, because I don't wanna forget to mention something. There's been a significant increase, and I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but, we had to reassess all of the communities that, are members of the Transit Authority. And, for example, yours last year was, little over 3,200. This year it's 13,000. It's actually due next year, and the reason why I'm here is to explain this to you. It wasn't a decision that we made lately. For the first time in the authority's history, counties' contributions fell short. As a result, we had no choice but to increase the municipal share. This is because by state law, the local match funding can only come from municipalities and counties. Over the past 4 years, we were able to reduce your contribution thanks to higher levels of county support. If we had not done that, your match would have been, this current year would have been 6,400. It's important to note that if we do not collect sufficient local match, we risk permanently losing state operating funding, which makes up 78% of our operating budget. By way of example, your community does not contribute, MMVTA's state funding would be permanently reduced by $483,000, almost $500,000. If other communities make similar decisions, the impact would quickly grow, and we could be forced to significantly reduce service or potentially cease operations altogether, affecting thousands of our riders who depend on public transportation every day. Over 30,000 are your residents. We are actively working to find solutions and are hopeful that local match contributions can be reduced in the upcoming year. In the meantime, your borough's contribution, which is not due until next year, plays an important role not only in supporting your own residents, but also in sustaining the other 21 communities that make up the Mid-Mon Valley. We respectfully ask your consideration in continuing to support public transportation and maintaining this vital service to your communities. Does anybody have any questions?
The only question I have is, I know you guys capture a lot of statistics about how many people you transport, how far you transport, and so forth.
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible for you to send that to council so that we can have an opportunity to look at that?
Sure. Actually, I do have some statistics. It's an internal document. By our bylaws,
Mm-hmm.
I follow that in order to do an assessment of each community, and it's done in the bylaws. 50% of it comes from ridership in your community, and 50% comes from miles.
Okay.
So if you
Could you maybe summarize that for council, so, for us?
Sure. This is based on our last audited fiscal year, and total miles for that year in your community were 52,593, and the ridership was 30,493 for the year.
So that's basically 100 people a day, is that right, or 1,000 people a day?
Well, we operate 7 days a week.
I understand.
Okay.
You're actually transporting a lot of people in
We are.
Monessen.
We are indeed. A lot use our commuter into downtown Pittsburgh on the main streets, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from we started going up on the hill about 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's working out really well. This was the last place I've been visiting other councils, and it's just I wished I had good news, and I wished I had an alternative to how I could get this funding. We try to do it as fairly as possible. So, if anybody wants this documentation, I'll actually leave it here just in case. And, we've been asking everybody to talk to your legislators in your county and, to see if they would commit some additional funding to us. It's Westmoreland that neglected to give us operating this year. However, they've been keeping us afloat for 30 years now, and I understand they were having some financial issues. So, you know, I don't wanna ever say anything bad about Westmoreland County. But that's what got us into this now. Washington is contributing 25,000. They've been doing so for the past few years, but the rest, I have no choice but to put that burden on the communities, and I feel bad about it. So, I've been asking if you wanna talk to the counties or, legislators, if they would change the legislation in the way it reads, and just be a little more lenient on what they would accept as local match, especially from small agencies. We've got the same requirements as the Port Authority or SEPTA. And it's very difficult, and it goes up 5% every year. So we're looking at alternative ways to, what we're gonna do is probably do less capital projects. We're trying to maintain our assets, but we would like to use, maybe leverage some of that money and put it towards operating to take some of the burden off the communities, but that wouldn't happen until next year. Or, well, next year for the following year, because of our, the way our fiscal year goes, so. I actually have also too, if anybody would ever be interested in, like sample letters of support and more information on the legislation, so.
That would be appropriate as well.
Thank
I
you.
really think that it is an essential function that you guys provide for the city of Monessen. That based on your numbers, there's about 100 people a day that you're transporting within the city limits of Monessen, and that's very significant. But I also just got back from Austin, Texas. I just got through with a 2-day seminar on thinking of the future. And one of the things that I saw driving around in Austin is I'm riding around on my motorcycle on the freeway. I look at the car next to me, there's not a soul driver. There's nobody in this car. They use Waymo.
Yeah.
And Waymo goes and picks up people and takes them places without a single driver whatsoever. And then you get back here and you look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh International is in the process of looking at doing driverless buses to move people around. I mean, does your organization look at advancements along those lines as well?
We do. We haven't gotten that detailed on it, but we've tried to, whenever something was available to us to get it, we have our buses right now have GPS units on them. It's called an AVL system, and anybody can pick up a phone or a computer, or we can do the same in our office, and we can find out where a bus is, what time it's going to be there, if it's going to be late, how many people are on the bus at the
That's
time.
good.
So, yeah, we've tried to do some of those, but I'm not sure if we'll get into that, at least while I'm still there. It might be a possibility.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, and for what I do agree with the mayor, what you said, what you offer is very, very important to the citizen and people of Monessen. My concern is, because I'm a financial person, is, for one, thank God it's not you asking for it this year, because this year's budget's already done.
Right.
But my concern is, do you foresee, where does it stop? Next year, it's 13,000. The year after, it's 15, 17,000. Before you know it, it's a full line item in our budget that we're not prepared to do.
Right, I do understand that. I can't give you any promises right at this moment, but we're gonna try our hardest. Like I said, I know we have some alternatives for next year. By the following year, I'm hoping that, the counties will have been, able to maybe contribute some more. Really, Washington County should contribute more than what they've been doing. Actually, Westmoreland's been giving us 50,000 or more every year.
So my second question then is, on a county, and you get federal money too, correct?
Correct.
On a county and federal, my question is, why? Why was it cut? Why do you have such a drastic drop in resources that you would have gotten before in the previous years from the federal and county government. What was the reasoning for them to say, sorry, guess what? Your local match for what you're gonna have to do is this amount of money now, we're not only giving you this amount of money, that's it.
Right. Well, actually, we've been getting, consistently higher revenue every year. The problem is ever since COVID, the expenses are far exceeding our revenue. The local match started with implementation of Act 44 in 2007, and, they gave us a designated amount. It was low, and it's gotta rise 5% by law every year. So really, there hasn't, and the federal, fortunately for us, isn't involved in this local match. This is just for state operating. So we have been getting state operating, and it has been increasing, fortunately, every year.
So if that's the case, then how is it, when I go to work, I drive past the garage off of 66 for Westmoreland bus fleet there. How are they coping, because they had to get cut also?
What they're doing, well, actually, we're in a unique position, unfortunately. I'm aware of no other transit agency that was formed like ours. Ours was formed by 21 communities. The other agencies are formed by counties, and the counties fully fund them. So that's where the problem lies for us. As far as I know, we are the only one, when we were formed, and I don't know if anybody would ever remember 88 transit lines. A million years ago, they used to travel through here. When they quit, there wasn't any public transportation anymore. So, the SPC, the Southwestern Planning Commission, came in and, tried to get counties to contribute, and they refused. So therefore, we went to all the communities, and that's how we were formed, with the commitment that the communities would pay. At that time, we didn't have to pay this amount of money, $21,500 for the entire year for all the communities. And that's because we were classified as economically distressed. That all went away with Act 44. Now we're in the same boat with everybody else, and that's why I'm fighting for the legislation. I know it's an uphill battle, but I think it's possible. I do think so.
I seen it was in the paper today. Who was it that,
Monongahela?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was in today's paper.
My representative from Monongahela here on our board, he's also our chairman, is with me tonight, George Eckert. So George was really instrumental in, getting this through Monongahela. Theirs was a little higher than yours as well. So, George, did you want to say something?
If I may. What I've seen, I don't even like that, I've taught school for 34 years. What I've seen as being a part of the transit authority is very different from when I was not there. I graduated from Ringgold, Monongahela, but it was Ringgold, 1970. First job was in Bethel Park. Monongahela had a lot of family businesses. I mean, their kids were working down there. So I went down to Chess Park, jumped on the bus, took it down to where the Walmart is. It was the Murphy's Mart, just opened up Memorial Day of 70. And I gotta get the bus, Never thought about, I never had any way to get down here. My parents had one car, and Dad worked. Well, that's, a lot of people don't have a car now. That's why the bus is so important. As Nancy said, you guys have 30,000 people a year, so does Monongahela. Monongahela doesn't have the mileage going through. But believe you are third with mileage. Denora is first. There's more miles. Denora, their fair share or match will be 14,000. What I've seen, it's the doggone legislature. Last year, when they did not pass a budget, we were supposed to pick up $953,000. We didn't count on it, because you can't count on Harrisburg. We waited and waited. Finally, when they did pass it in December, oh, we cut your transportation money out in September. Westmoreland County has laid off a lot of employees. And I don't know if Mr. Nacarado has explained to you, we have two types of funding. We have capital funding and operational funding.
We cannot interchange the two. But Pittsburgh and Philadelphia can. They're allowed. But we can. There are 53 transit authorities in the Commonwealth. All are county except Pittsburgh and Southwest, or SEPTA. Yeah, we're special. Carroll Township supervisors have gone to one of the representatives over there and said, these people are special. You guys make special legislation for Pittsburgh and Philly, make some special legislation for them. Monongahela did pass it last night, and somebody said, how can we get that matched down? And I said, well, all monies have to come from the community. One guy stood up, if I give money to Monongahela, can they use that? If you earmark that for transportation from Mid-Mon Valley Transportation Authority, yes, because it's coming from you guys. He said, okay, I'll give you guys $500 next year. Which is nice, and again, you don't count on anything until you see it. But transportation is very important in this valley. Now, at one time, I don't know, I guess we're all old enough maybe to remember, there was a guy, Pete Daly, was across there, and he wanted to incorporate a new county, Monongahela River County. It'd be both sides of the river. I always complain over in Washington County stops at 84 PA. If you look at the 7919 corridor, that's where they build everything. We fend for ourselves down there. You brought up Monongahela as one of the towns that's doing okay. Washington Mission pulled out of Monongahela. Another empty building. One person in Mon City went around to the different organizations, and that's how we do it in Mon City. The organizations get together. We lend them $5,000 a piece. They got their $144,000. They've done a walk through the building. Now we're waiting to see if there's going to be a transaction. But we're trying to keep good businesses in town. And what happened to the little businesses here? When the malls come up, let's go to the mall. So little pop places shut down. They're not coming back. But what happened to the malls now? They're going away too. So what do? Online. Say, I'd like to buy my shoes, I'd like to try them on first. And there's a lot of places in Monessen I can see that there's places to grow. In Monongahela, the auditorium is the only access we have to the river. Everything else is owned by people that want a fortune for it. Or they live outside of some of them do live outside the country. But it's local ownership and entrepreneurship that should go. But we'd like you to consider staying in with us, residents.
Thank you very much. I think it's really important that the council move forward with this. It is next year. It will, just have to make time to budget for it. We've got time to prepare. It's just one of those things that we'll have to do. And I thank you both very much for coming in.
Thank you. We're also gonna be going to the draft. We're traveling to the draft every day.
Okay,
just so you
good.
know.
Well, that's gonna be huge.
Yeah,
That's gonna
it
be
really
huge.
is. It really is. I love
Thank you
I would
very much.
probably say one last thing, and that is, let us know, let the city know about.
May I ask a question?
Wait, let him finish.
We started putting the budget together in September, at the latest.
Right.
Things fall through the cracks. If we don't remember or don't get a bill or something that says, hey, it's gonna be $13,000, it won't hit it. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Right.
We need to know.
Right.
Remind us.
I actually apologize. I meant to say, what I need now is, what I do need this year is a resolution. I need to upload resolutions with our state operating grant in order to, get all the money.
You have a copy of the resolution you'd like us to do?
I do.
Okay.
I have it right.
Yeah.
So there is a resolution here, and I can contact you too, maybe the next time I contact you, I'll have better news.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I think everybody's got some resumes in their folder, and I don't expect anything to be done with those resumes right now.